Well, Toyota steadfastly ignored EVs for 20 years. One of the world's largest and most successful automakers said that their gasoline hybrids were the most effective and realistic solution to reducing car emissions. As Toyota touched the perfection, it has plans to bring changes for good. So what's the plan and where's it headed? Tech Addicts is the station for you, so let's begin. Toyota's decades-long gamble paid off and earned them the market leader in hybrids. However, that didn't help the company become an EV industry frontrunner. It still lags behind the competition. It must now play aggressive catch-up. One such startup automobile company to emerge from California in recent years is Tesla, which has amassed hundreds of thousands of followers, has sold millions of vehicles, and is on track to become the first ground-up U.S. automaker in almost a century. Midway through December, Toyota CEO Akio Toyoda unveiled the company's updated strategies for increasing battery electric vehicle production. A lot of big-time production and big-time cash was promised. To sum up, Toyota announced in his 25-minute press conference that the company aims to sell 3.5 million battery electric vehicles annually by 2030, out of a total of 10 million for Toyota worldwide, with no fewer than 30 distinct Toyota and Lexus models available across all market groups. Further, he promised an astounding $70 billion for electrification overall. Furthermore, how are we to put Toyota's claims in perspective, seeing as the company appears to have been dragged reluctantly toward developing battery electric vehicles? Depending on EVs by automakers in the last 2 years has been phenomenal. There have been numerous announcements of battery factories and dozens of all-electric models around Europe, and that doesn't even take into account China, which aspires to control the majority of the world's EV battery supply, as it does with PV solar cells and LF lithium-ion cells. Every month, more and more automakers announce global EV commitments. Our current and comprehensive list is as follows, with the most recent items at the top: $18 billion for Nissan, $30 billion for Ford, $35 billion for Stellantis, $35 billion for GM, and $59 billion for Volkswagen. Then, Toyota announced a whopping $70 billion, dwarfing every other original equipment manufacturer combined. The announcement sent shockwaves through the business press, with some observers taking it as Toyota's tacit admission that electric vehicles represent the company's future. However, there is a big caveat to that figure. It only applies to electrified vehicles, as do the commitments of some of the other manufacturers. Do not assume that this word means what you think it means. The term electrification does not refer exclusively to electric vehicles. Despite widespread belief to the contrary, it refers to vehicles that have an electric motor integrated into their drivetrain, the most common examples of which are the conventional Toyota hybrids that have been on the market for 20 years, as well as their plug-in hybrid counterparts. Toyota has nonetheless revealed that it will commit $35 billion exclusively to battery electric vehicles. That's a big increase from where they were headed with EVs before, yet it still just puts them at GM's heels. Neither has come close to catching up to VW Group, which has poured more money into electric vehicles than any other major manufacturer. Toyota's dedication stands out, though, because it is the company's largest car maker, fighting what is now widely seen as an inevitable transition from gasoline engines to battery-powered vehicles. It's an acknowledgement that EVs will become ubiquitous in many of its markets this decade, albeit at various rates. The plans Toyota presented to boost EV production over the next 6 years were just the most recent of several. It rehashed points the business hammered home during the 2022 Toyota bZ4X electric SUV's media debut in the United States last November. Mr. Toyoda was quoted as saying, "It is difficult to make everyone pleased with a one-size-fits-all alternative. Thus, the corporation Toyota plans to provide as many carbon-reducing choices as possible around the world. This includes hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, in addition to conventional hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and pure EVs. A vehicle that doesn't necessitate any changes to the way a driver lives their life, like plugging in at night, would be more appealing to consumers. And since a Toyota hybrid vehicle's fuel efficiency is so much higher than that of the identical automobile driven by a traditional non-hybrid engine, increasing sales of hybrids will indeed reduce carbon emissions." But Mr. Toyoda omitted to explain that EVs are not just zero emission, but they get cleaner during their lifespan every time their charging systems decarbonize, whether by adding renewables or replacing coal plants with modern and efficient natural gas production. Toyota stated that business aims to focus on two technologies: carbon-reducing vehicles, presumably hybrids that cut the CO2 per mile of gasoline transportation, and carbon-neutral vehicles. A fully carbon-neutral vehicle is a high bar indeed when you take into account the manufacturing footprint plus the energy sources that go into powering them. Even more so for hydrogen vehicles, where the mirage of zero-carbon green hydrogen fuel made at scale entirely from renewable energy remains a faraway dream. It's interesting that Toyota didn't mention the second-generation Mirai or even mention hydrogen vehicles until minute 19 of the 25-minute briefing. The CEO presented in front of a lineup of 5 Beyond Zero vehicles, including the 2022 Toyota BZ4X small SUV launched at the LA Auto Show. The other 4 included a much sleeker coupe SUV, a small SUV for Europe and Japan, a mid-size sedan in the vein of a Camry, and a large SUV with available third-row seating like a Highlander. At roughly 9 minutes in, a second curtain opened, adding 11 more vehicles for a total of 16 EV concepts from both Toyota and also its Lexus luxury brand. There will be numerous types of Toyota EVs, but Lexus will serve as the company's EV flagship. 25 years of EV R&D. Every CEO's EV presentation must include a review of the company's past efforts in EV research and development. Mr. Toyota specifically mentioned the battery electric 1996 Toyota RAV4 EV as an example of a compliance car, which is defined as a vehicle sold in only the quantities and geographic areas required to meet regulatory criteria. After that came a slew of micro EVs designed for use in congested city environments, and in 2012, we saw the debut of the EQ, an electric version of the IQ. After only 100 were produced, production ceased. Not surprisingly, Toyota didn't bring up the Toyota company's long-standing position that hydrogen-powered vehicles are the only practical option for family cars and long-range zero-emissions vehicles like the Mirai and the EQ, while EVs are only suitable for tiny, short-range electric cars. Time may have passed now. Toyota has been a laggard in EV production, at first reluctantly and resentfully forced into it by China and its zero-emission vehicle sales rules. Now it claims it will be a full part of the transition, if not necessarily on the leading edge. Considering its status as the most successful automaker in the world, it has the financial wherewithal to do so. Keep in mind that even if Toyota succeeds in releasing a totally battery electric car, it won't necessarily become an instant bestseller. Nissan is a cautionary story because it was the first automaker to produce a mass-market electric vehicle in 2011 with the Leaf compact hatchback, but it has subsequently fallen behind in the EV industry. The Leaf, which debuted with an odd design and an EPA estimated range of 74 miles, was eventually surpassed in sales volume by the Tesla Model 3. The model was not the sales success that former CEO Carlos Ghosn had hoped for, and no other EV passenger vehicles were approved during his tenure. The BZ4X appears to be missing some key features on paper. A 250-mile range is what Toyota anticipates it will achieve in EPA testing, which is average but not great for a 2022 model. Neither plug and charge nor will the vehicle's navigation system direct drivers to charge stations. There is no glove box or front trunk in this vehicle. Toyota, on the other hand, is the only automaker in the world to promise that an electric vehicle's battery will maintain 90% of its original range after a decade. That's great news for first-time EV buyers who are worried about losing too much range, which is one of the most common concerns among prospective buyers. It's still too soon to tell for sure, but it seems like Toyota is keeping its promise to keep its battery's range stable, even as it naturally degrades over time. To this day, only a handful of manufacturers have offered 10-year battery guarantees for their electric vehicles. However, there is a guarantee against total battery failure. However, more EVs need to be driven before we have comparable data for all of them. Every data suggested Tesla battery seems to hold up fairly well over time. Moving forward, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.